Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Josh, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the World Cup group stage in Thailand. Of course, we're going to be focusing on the two teams you can see in front of you, obviously, which are going to be Australia and China. So, what happened in this group stage? Let's set the scene. China know that they are going to BlizzCon. They don't know if they're going in first or second, however. But Australia, they're not quite so sure. They don't know that they are going to BlizzCon or if they are not. They still have to take at least one map off of China. Of course, winning the series, I believe, would put them in the first place seed. But China, well, if they can shut out Australia, it would actually be Denmark of all teams that would be going to BlizzCon. So, kind of a surprise there. I think Sweden were my personal favourite for second pick, but they really seemed to crumble, unfortunately, at the last minute. Just looked a little bit disorganised, a little bit sloppy, if I do say so myself. But we're going to wait for the gates to open, and then, of course, we're going to talk team comps here on Kings Row, a very familiar map, but it does produce the best game, so it's no surprise to see it pretty often. Okay, gates open, straight away Gushu dies. I'm not even going to pause it yet, because Gushu is the tank player for China, and he's an astoundingly good one at that. He is an incredible player, and has been highlighted, no doubt, numerous times here. I'm going to say Gushu as well. I know that the pronunciation technically is a little bit different, but you'll have to bear with me, my poor English brain can't handle anything a bit different. And I want to highlight first Australia's team comp. They're a little bit unorthodox compared to what we see normally now these days, with the older school Orisa and Junkrat on the high ground playstyle as well, using the Widowmaker, using long sight lines, trying to pick people off, snipe them away. They still have the Ana, which is more of a modern twist, and the Zenyatta, who is these days a little bit outdated, But, ladies and gents, China have something a little bit different. They are running, of course, the Wrecking Ball. Hammond himself has come to join us, combined with two other divey tanks, which is the Winston and the Diva. They are bringing a Tracer, which I find extremely surprising, because, well, Shy is no slouch on the Sombra, and Sombra kind of does a lot of what Tracer does, but also brings the EMP, which is such a pivotal ultimate these days in the current meta. They also do, of course, have the Ana and the Lucio, which will provide their own power vitally. Most appreciably, the Ana, she's just huge these days, especially this is why Sombra, of course, is so important as well as we roll the tape forward. Sombra is very good, of course, at hacking divas, for example. That lets you get anti-heal grenades and stuff into the enemy team, which is going to be super powerful. But China going to engage super hard, super aggro, straight away, take a boatload of damage. Leave gets caught up, stunned up by something, I don't know, slowed down, anti-healed or whatever, but regardless, dies ridiculously fast. China committing super hard here on this first engage. Normally with this sort of team comp, you'll see teams do what we call a soft engage. A soft engage simply means that you engage softly. You know, you engage so that you can leave if you need to. You basically want to try and scare out a few cooldowns from Australia. Stuff like the heal grenade, the concussive mines, a little bit of defense matrix, maybe fortify from Orisa. You're really looking for that sort of thing on this first engage. Hammond, though, going to engage again, gets pulled right into the trap. Beautiful Aussie coordination there, just pulls him right away into that trap. They are still getting hunted down by Gushu, who's building up a huge amount of ultimate charge. Riptire comes out. Unfortunately, Gushu, well, he just gets very angry. He just really annoyed him there in the backline, but there's still too little too late. Does manage to kill Huss. This will be a little bit significant later, but not so much at the moment. So then, okay. What are China's options? Well, China is building very quickly towards a nano boost. This is something I actually want to highlight at the moment, which is that a Kraken isn't building the nano boost at the moment. It's Custer who's actually healing the Diva alongside him. I really wish that Custer would just not be healing that Diva. Just give it all to a Kraken. Nano boost is so good. You want to have it. But they have managed to knock the reset down to the low ground, more important than anything at the moment, which is kind of a big deal, right? It's much more vulnerable position. Now they can actually get to the high ground. They can get to your Widowmaker a little bit easier, and that's what they're trying to set up for at the moment. Sky also now has that nano boost available to him. They've got a pulse bomb. They have a lot of resources. Shy's just waiting to go in on the back. Nano boost goes in. Nano Winston goes in. Unfortunately, he gets woken up there as well. It's a beautiful sleep dart, but it's still not quite enough. There is the pulse bomb, just blows away the Orisa. But Huss, meanwhile, Huss just starts playing out of his mind. This is the power of that Widowmaker, of course. If you don't contest her, if you don't respect her, she's going to absolutely dominate and just take over the game. Huss does exactly that. Does get chased out there a little bit by the hamster, unfortunately, onto the back line. But at the end of the day, Australia managed to hold on. Basically, you know, Huss has put his backpack on, has put Australia in it, and tried to carry them to victory. Unfortunately for Australia, well, China respawned really quickly and really close nearby And so they just come back that much faster, re-engage that much more aggressively, and unfortunately as well, Huss ends up going down. So now Huss is going to be forced to swap to Tracer to get back to the point. They do manage to get the retake here using the Riptide, using the Nano Boost on the D.Va as well, which is a slightly unorthodox target, but Australia don't really have good options for that Nano Boost, so they have to put it on the D.Va. Now then, what does this mean? Well, there's no Widowmaker. So China just go, okay, you don't have anything to do with the Pharah now. Right, but we're just going to run Far Mercy. And that's what they do. And really, yeah, Australia now are completely out of position. They don't have a good answer to this. They have to rely on their supports to try and take this out of the sky. This means that, well, Leave and Yevtal can just go around on the sidelines. They can just push forward slowly. D.Va Bomb goes in, gets one kill, CKM manages to get rid of Gushu, but Leave is still raining death from above. He even has that Nano Boost, which is just going to push people off the point. They can't really contest anymore. They can't even make their way out the door, and so China will end up taking the first point here. And this is a fearsome Chinese team, right? These guys are pretty good. Put all thoughts of Shanghai Dragons out of your mind, because I had the pleasure of casting Chinese contenders, and there were some standout people on that in that region. This is a team made up of quite a lot of them. I will say that I think they are missing Eileen, a incredible Chinese player, but China in general produces some really talented individual players. Perhaps not teams, but individual players from China can be exceptionally good. I think there's a lack of coaching in the region, perhaps, that sort of doesn't really help them out, but China hopefully has all the coaches they need to help support them for the World Cup. Certainly seems to have paid off here in the group stages. Okay. China, going forward, they have pretty good win conditions available to them. Of course, they have that barrage that will help them win out in the next fight. Australia, meanwhile, are fighting from square one at the moment. So Lee's going to go into the back line, manages to get the dive on to a Kraken, and this is the weakness of not running something like a Lucio Ana. This is sort of the more typical healer comp that you will see more often, because the Ana, she's an old girl, right? She needs a bit of ferrying around. She needs a bit of help. She needs a bit of assistance, and Lucio is there to do that. He will speed boost her out of danger. He will boop away threats. Gushu demonstrating the power of that Winston damage buff that he got recently as well here, just doing so much damage time and time again. It's in fact such an important thing that I'm going to pause the video right now, because I want to talk about this and you need to understand this to understand the rest of this review. Okay, so previously when Winston landed, let's say that Winston lands here, right, this dot here, well, he'd deal damage in a big circle around him. Those of you who are immature might be snickering at the moment considering what I've drawn, but still, he'd deal 50 damage if he landed right on someone, and then he'd deal less and less and less damage as you get away from the center. Now he just deals, well, 50 damage. No matter where he lands, he will do 50 damage. This is a big deal. This is a really big deal, and this is a big deal because Nano Boost, well, turns that into 75 damage. Okay, some quick maths. 50 plus 50% of 50 is oftentimes 75. Plus a melee hit on top with that Nano Boost as well will mean he'll deal about 100 damage on landing on targets. That's a lot of damage, right, when most heroes have 200 hit points. So what that means is that nano-boosted Winstons are really, really powerful. This means that teams are now favoring nano-boosting Winstons time and time again. Now then, Australia, they've got some good win conditions coming up for the next fight. They have that EMP, which is crucial. They have Nano Boost, and they decide to use both of them. At the moment, EMP and Nano Boost are fight-winning ultimates, and if you combine both of them, well, you're going to win the hell out of that fight, but unfortunately for Australia, well, there's about a minute left on the clock. CKM swapped to the Brigitte to try and counter Shy's Tracer, so Shy naturally plays a bit of musical chairs and goes to the McCree, so he's going to be avoiding and dodging that problem straight up. So now, Australia, they kind of used their two most powerful ultimates to win a single team fight. There's still 30 seconds left, and China's going to be coming in with a nano boost of their own. Custer doesn't have a Transcendence, so Australia, they try, they gamble, they take a risk, and they engage early. They try and catch China off guard, but unfortunately, Leave is just ready and waiting for them, drops the barrage right onto their noggins, and takes them out once and for all. That's going to cause some problems, of course, for Australia. They try and take down the threat in the sky. Trill just jumping at targets and trying to remove the fire, but it's not going to be enough with a Mercy there, just pocketing away and giving some healing. So Trill's just going to get picked down slowly but surely. I believe that's not even a nano boosted Gushu, that's just Gushu just going in the back line and killing like no tomorrow. Winstons are devastating these days, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me, it's something to keep an eye on. Believe me, we're going to talk about this a lot throughout the remainder of this, so settle in. If you like Winston, now's your time to shine, trust me. Okay. China changes things up once again, brings out the Widowmaker, and will try and play a little bit of a longer range game. Meanwhile, Leave swaps up to the Brigitte for the more closed range environments, of course. That Mercy and that Farah gonna be less useful overall. Australia still sort of recovering from that previous fight though. A Kraken almost good to go. They try and dissuade the enemy team's engagement, throw in a cheeky bomb, but you can see the weakness of, like, if the D.Va isn't in position, if the D.Va isn't in place and the anti-heal goes through, it's going to cause so many problems. Again, you see that Ana on the backline as well just being left alone. Custer has to pull back to try and heal this Ana, keep them alive from the threat that is Gushu on the back with that nano boost. We do see the Primal Rage Winston, though, go in with a nano of his own for a brief period of time, I do believe, and he's just laying people down. He has no problem tearing people apart. Again, the damage Winston does at the moment is phenomenal, especially even in that Primal Rage form, where normally Primal Rage was, you know, it was kind of a weak ultimate. It was kind of bad. But now, because it does 50 damage every 2 seconds when you use that jump, it's pretty good. As long as you don't knock people away before you land on them, it's really, really strong. Okay, one fight left in it. China, they've got to shut down Huss. They have to make sure that they don't all get EMP'd. And they do that by just activating Infrasight. It's really, really easy. So now, well, Huss has to run away. The Brigitte was actually running at him at that period of time, I do believe. Shy gets time to set up. He's been a dominant Widowmaker when he's been able to perform, and so now he's going to look for it. EMP goes off onto the tanks, but unfortunately, well, China didn't leave anyone on the point. They had people covering all sides and all angles, but unfortunately, yeah, that's a bit of a Charlie Niner. That's embarrassing. Okay, so China with a little bit of a rough start. I mean, it feels bad when that happens, surely. That's got to get into your heads a little bit, but it's still a pretty good push through King's Row. They got it most of the way through third. Unfortunately, they didn't complete. Now then, China are going to be running something that we call, it's like a variation on what's been termed the Canada comp, which is running basically GOATs, which is a triple tank, triple support comp. Stop me if I'm talking technical here. You shouldn't be familiar with GOATs by now if you watch the competitive scene. Hopefully you are. Otherwise, yeah, we've seen Canada run that GOATs comp with a Sombra instead. But crucially, most crucially, I want to highlight something that's kind of weird as the gates open. So, what's weird? What is really weird here? Well, they're running it with a Zarya, and I find this kind of baffling myself, because Ana is super important in the meta right now, right? You really want to be thinking about Ana a lot. And why should you be thinking about Ana a lot? Well, you think about Ana a lot because anti-heal grenades are so important and so powerful. Now, normally you stop anti-heal grenades by using a D.Va, but if you don't have a D.Va on the map, well, those anti-grenades should go through. So what does this mean? Well, this means that Australia have two very powerful win conditions now. They can either land an anti-heal grenade, or they can land a good hack on a right target and maybe kill someone off on the back of a dive. That means that they can win fights without even, they don't even need ultimates to do that. By the way, small note, the Venom mine you just saw Shy put up there denies Huss from going through that pathway. He now has to go the long way around, so he can't go through there because the Venom mine would go off and it would reveal him. He's going to use the Translocator actually to get to that high ground, which is somewhat risky. Like, you don't have an escape anymore, so if he gets caught, he's going to die. Now then, team does a good job of supporting Shy, will keep him alive during all of this, and Huss does get found out, does get pushed away, and will have to just translocate out to safety. China sees the moment as well. They play their comp just like you would play GOATs. You find a target, you run at the target with a speed boost, and you try and kill it off. Punk, unfortunately, gets caught out, and will get pulled down and taken down. Okay then, so far so good for China. They do manage to get rid of Shy at the very least, which is a small problem. So Trill going in, being the guerrilla assassin, basically. You see him sneaking out as well. He just dances away into the night, no problem. The CKM slowly building up the blade. Most crucially as well, a Kraken building up towards that nano boost. That's something they're going to have to keep their eye on overall. Anti-heal grenade goes in, gets rid of Late Young, so that's one kill so far. CKM, good amount of progress to the blade so far, and Shy, crucially, like we saw last time, like we saw in the last defense, was pushed off that Widowmaker. He is now on to a Tracer. There's no Brigitte on Australia's side, so it should be okay at the moment, but if they swap to a Pharah, well, it could spell disaster. Now then, Australia coming up to the next fight will have that nano boost available to them. They have a choice ahead of them. Do they nano boost Genji or do they nano boost Winston? I honestly believe in the current meta, nano boosting Winston is probably actually more worthwhile. You nano boost Winston and you can blade afterwards if you really want to, but nano blade Genji? Not as powerful as you'd think, and you're going to see a demonstration of why. He goes in and then speed boost just pulls away, and there's the boop. And now he's just got to back off, and he's taken so much damage as well from Gushu, who got nanoed, that he goes down. Winston, with nano boost, don't die. He don't go down. He's a tough Mother Hubbard, right? He's going to stay alive. He's going to cause damage. He's going to cause problems, and he's probably going to kill people about as reliably as the Genji will. He's also very difficult to shut down. He'll also survive everything. You're not risking your Genji. And so if you just send in the Winston and your blade afterwards, if you really need it, well, you'll probably finish everybody off regardless and use a similar volume of ultimates, right? It's just efficient. It's just quick maths. Right, okay, enough of my rambling, because Gushu surviving that last engagement, by the way, was incredible, but China have a huge stable of ultimates, but of course, what's happened? Well, pharmacies come to join us. Everybody's favorite airborne couple is now raining death from above, and normally you'd have a diva perhaps to help handle this. You'd have a diva to absorb some of the rockets. Maybe if the Mercy dies like it did now, well, you just send diva and you just run her at the Farah, and the Farah gets taken down, no problemo. But, so your game is just uncontested. Nothing can touch him. Absolutely nothing can touch him. So he's just going to rain death from above, and as a result, China, well, they have to go back to the spawn, licking their wounds, and changing pretty much their entire team comp as well. Late Young picks up the Diva, Leaves staying on Zarya, Gushu staying on, well, switching to that Winston. Yveltal as well, still on that Lucio. Okay. So China now have to regroup, but Australia, they use a lot of resources. They do have a good EMP opportunity available to them for the next fight, but China, they have a nano boost. It's an ultimate you really got to keep an eye on. If they can get Gushu in and get Gushu doing a lot of damage, it could cause problems. Leave actually going to swap off the Zarya. I quite like this onto the Brigitte. We'll just start pushing targets away. So they've got a lot of stun power, so this is just going to make it harder for Huss to do things. Shy, of course, going to be looking to do some sharpshooting on that McCree with the Peacekeeper as well. China goes in for an early engage, actually catches out Huss, manages to spot him out with all these stuns, I imagine, and now they know there's no Sombra, there's no threat of EMP, they can just go as aggressive as they like, and they will take down targets, and they'll do it in a very clever way. They do it without using ultimates, and that makes me so happy, because think about China leaving spawn. Mere moments ago, they had no ultimates, but now, well, they've got tons of ultimate charge. Gushu's got Primal Ray, Shy's got Deadeye, Late Young's well on his way towards that Diva Bomb, which is super important. Huss, though, is going to be sneaky. Those devilish Australians just going into the back. Oh, he's got to push it. Yveltal and both Yveltal and Sky have to pull back just to try and contest that. You got to send two people. You can't just send Ana on her own. Luckily, Shy somehow gets a kill on Custer. I have no idea how he did this. Like, it's right next to spawn. Still gets a kill on Custer. It's really not the biggest deal in the world as well that they are losing, and especially if they are going to start committing ultimates. I think Custer might have valked then, because he died. He died using an ultimate. So now Trill and Custer have nothing in the tank. But Australia do, again, have that crucial nano boost and the EMP available to them. That's a scary, scary thing to keep in mind. Yveltal's also been very quiet, so he hasn't managed to build up any of his ultimate charge. Normally, Sound Barrier is one of the ways you can beat EMP if the Lucio doesn't get hacked. Unfortunately for Australia, that's sort of, well, unfortunately for China, rather, that's not the case. Nice early aggressive EMP out of Huss will disable most of China, and Australia looking to finish this one off, but it's some brilliant shooting out of Shy will remove a Kraken before he gets a chance to use that ultimate. Res comes up, however, but Trill goes down again before he gets the nano boost on him. So CKM actually gets the nano boost, but it's just CKM and a Sombra left, and I think maybe a Mercy is floating around, but she's left. Like, they just don't have the stamina to keep on going with this fight. China, meanwhile, have supports on the point. They've got tanks on the point. They are fine. So some crucial picks, some crucial early deaths there, and a little bit of a reluctance perhaps to pull the trigger from a Kraken. You know, maybe thinking, oh, well, we got this fight, we don't need the nano boost maybe. But no, you needed the nano boost. You needed the nano boost the moment you went down. Mercy had to stop healing to get that res going, and then, well, it's panic stations, because this is where you lose King's Row. This point here, end of second, is where most teams end up losing. China, though, they know that they used a lot in that last fight. They know that they don't have that nano boost available to them, but they do know as well that Australia doesn't really have anything left in the tank, and there's 15 seconds left in it. So, well, China just engage. They just go aggressive because they can do so. This is pretty much what we call a naked fight. There's no ultimates really getting involved in this one. Just Primal Rage, which is pretty good. Perhaps a Deadeye, but those aren't big ultimates. Those aren't big game-changing, game-winning ultimates. And as a result, China end up winning out. Moment of reluctance, perhaps, from Australia to pull the trigger. China just playing very well with the ultimates, knowing to go aggressive when necessary to build up their ultimate charge, to continue basically winning on that eco war, that economy war that Overwatch is so about at the pro level, means that they win out the map on King's Row. It was a brilliant series, and I heartily recommend you guys go and watch it. The Thailand group stage produced some fantastic games of Overwatch that were really exciting. Hopefully, though, Paris will produce some even better ones. I'm looking forward to that one. I'll be there, Style will be there, so definitely cheer us on at the Seven Lions with the UK team. Hopefully we smash it out the park there, just like China smashed it out the park here, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this little review. I have been Josh, as one voice amongst many, and I'll see you next time. Toodles.